What's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a good week, man. Almost one more day to the weekend. This is the Juicebox Heroes podcast. I'm one of your hosts, PK. Dubon Fan Club President Chris Moreno is back from hiatus. Sweet Bee Bones Bryles is here with us, like always. Fellas, how y'all doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a nice little vacay, much needed. But unfortunately, on the cruise ship, we did not have the internet. So I didn't find out the Astros were eliminated from the playoffs probably until I think it was Sunday night. So we actually had to pull into port a night early because of all the hurricanes and stuff going down in the Bahamas. And I was like, oh man, I can go ahead and check the internet now and see if they won. I got so excited to find out that they were eliminated. So outside of that, it's just trying to figure out what am I supposed to do with this extra, few days of not watching playoff baseball. But besides that, man, how you guys doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. Glad to have you back. PK and I held down the fort, and I think we did a
y'all
pretty
did a fantastic job.
If I don't say so myself, but yeah. Other than that, what you did miss was some pretty sad baseball. So don't feel like you missed too much. But as you saw, the Cleveland Guardians today got the Astros treatment and got knocked out by the Tigers. So anyway, yeah, I'm still watching playoff baseball. I don't care. It's, I'm a baseball fan first and foremost. So even though I don't have a dog in dog in the hunt, I'm still going to end up, watching all these games. But it'd be a lot better to see the Astros in there. So till then, it's Hawaiian shirt and Bahamas time. Till then, anyway, PK, how you doing, bud?
Pretty good, man. Just busy week. Busy week. I'm gonna tell you what, dude. When there's no team of yours playing a baseball game, you really find out that there's nothing else on TV to watch. I'm just gonna say that right now.
True story.
Right? Because it's like cool. It's playoff baseball. Like the stakes are high, especially today, right? With the elimination games. So it's pretty intense, but it doesn't hold enough. Obviously doesn't hold the same weight as it does if Houston was in, right? So you're going on 8 years of, not being in this position, right? Last year we didn't even make it to a third game against Detroit, but we were still in the tournament. So a little bit different, but it's all good, man. So let's get into this thing. Year in review. There's really, other than we get starting at the beginning, there's so much to cover. I don't know if we can do a whole episode, in time to cover. So, we can do a synopsis of what we're probably going to do. So what's Chris Browse? I don't care whichever one you're going to go first. What was your takeaway from the season? Obviously minus disappointment of coming up a game short. Where we want to kick this thing off?
Chris, go ahead and take it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start, man. Honestly, I call this probably one of the most roller coaster seasons that I've seen in a long time as an Astros fan. And I want to say I've been watching the Astros since at least 87. And it kind of goes to show how old I am. So, again, the cornerstone of what this season is going to be defined by is obviously the injuries, right? I think we led the league in injuries. We saw people come back.
Set a record.
Yeah, a record. Yeah, so it's just kind of mind blowing. Like it got to the point where it's like I feel like as fans we became numb to the fact as hearing news like, because I think like when Luis Garcia came back, pitched a couple games, like it was kind of swept under the rug that he ended up having to need again season-ending surgery on his elbow.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like it. I'm probably going to bounce throughout the episode, kind of bounce all over the place. Just kind of go back and forth from as far as like, we should be, not that we should be happy, but, we should be pretty proud that the Astros finished the way, as close as they did to making the playoffs with the injuries that they had. But then I'm going to probably teeter on the fact is that there was a handful of games that they should have won. That if you won half of those games, maybe, I guess we'll be honest. They probably would have dropped the first two games at, Detroit anyway. So, but again, you had the injuries, you had the offense, good chunks of the season outside of you had your one little run in June where it just looked anemic. Like your offense was terrible. I mean, you finished in like the bottom, like what I think bottom 10, probably bottom 8 in almost every offensive category. So and then towards the end of the season, towards the last month of the season, you had little sputters here and there. You had the sweep of the Tigers, or not the Tigers, the Rangers. You would pull off these little sweeps, and then we would kind of get the false hope of, oh man, here we go, we're back, and then we'd play Oakland and get swept 4 games by Oakland. I mean, so going back and forth, like I said, looking at how close this team did get, it's kind of frustrating as well because it's like, man, I've been kind of advocating the last few weeks, maybe almost to the last month, of not wanting to, but like in order for change to happen, like you kind of needed for us not to make the playoffs. So now that they haven't made the playoffs, I'm constantly kind of looking as I'm seeing coaches getting fired. I'm, checking Twitter more to make sure to see, hey, are we going to get that? I mean, I know that Dana Brown's pretty confident that he'll be back, and I'm good with that too. I mean, I don't get all the hate for Dana Brown, but I mean, I thought he went out there and did as best as he could. He didn't want to overpay for pitching, and I'm glad he didn't. But like I said, just kind of reading, everybody's like feedback from since I've been gone and since I've been back. It's just been kind of reading everybody, kind of get a vibe of the room. Yeah, a lot of fans of Houston want Dana Brown to be gone too. So I'm going to pass the buck. I think the big story of this season is yet again the injuries, as it was a good portion of last year and a good chunk of the season 2023. So now we've had almost 3 years straight of just complete letdown as far as injuries. So, Browse, what did you think?
Well, I do want to start off with a correction from our last episode when PK and I were talking. That was on Sunday. And when we were looking at the record and we said that we only had 86 wins, well, that was before they actually won on Sunday. So as I mentioned, I put down a bet for the Astros on the over of their total wins at 86.5. So guess what? I actually got to hit my bet. So I was super excited for that. That was pretty cool.
Oh boy.
Won it by a half game. So PK, as you mentioned, Vegas has got that pretty dialed in.
It's wild how they do it.
It's insane. It's insane how close they can get on stuff like that. And not only that, I mean, we're talking about, I dropped that back in March and during spring training, and we had no idea, just like Chris said, as far as like what the injuries were going to be. And we all expect to have some injuries. That's why starting pitching, you always need to have like 6, 7 starters, ready to go. But we had no idea that we were going to have anything like this. This was absolutely insane. PK, you were even talking about like we set a record on it, and we did. So, as far as all the noise that's been going on social media between Twitter and Facebook and all that, like they just want everybody's head. It's kind of hard to say what we would have been, what we could have been, and all that, because I kind of feel like this entire season we didn't have a set rotation. There was no like, oh, okay, it's Tuesday, and Hunter Brown just pitched the previous game. So now Frauber's going to pitch. And then after Frauber, it's going to be this guy. There was no set rotation this entire year. I mean, we had guys coming in and out, back from injuries, going on the IL. I mean, it was just a hot mess. I really feel sorry for the entire pitching staff between our major league team and our minor league system as well. Because, I mean, those guys were just trying to patch things together as best they possibly could. So the one thing I will say that I very much disagree with is the way that Espada handled this lineup throughout the season and trying to give guys rest when rest wasn't needed. Look, these guys get paid millions and millions of dollars for one reason. Why is it? It's to go out there and play baseball, not to sit on the end of the bench because, oh, hey, it's Tuesday and maybe they need a day of rest, or maybe it's Wednesday. It's a getaway day. We don't need to play our star players. I'm sorry, but they proved when it comes to the end of the season, you've got to have every single stud on your roster out there performing every single day. Now, if one of them gets gassed and needs a day off, don't get me wrong, I get it. That's how batting lineups and baseball lineups have gone, throughout this history of Major League Baseball. But at the same time, he's given the wrong guys off the wrong days, and it showed. And we took a bunch of losses for it that we typically shouldn't have taken. So I'm going to give Espada a -5 WAR for the entire season, and then the rest of the team. Hey, look, man, they were probably a +10 WAR compared to what they should have done as far as like what the injuries were and the staff that we had to put out there. There was at one point where we didn't have a major league outfielder on the actual outfield. I mean, it was bad. So, but anyway, you deal with adversity, you go out there, you win, you do the best you can. I think overall it was a disappointment, but it was a disappointment on so many different levels. And I'm not saying like it was bad on multiple levels. It was just adversity on so many different levels that it's tough to even grade the season because we really don't know what the what-ares, the ifs, and all that could have been if we had a healthy team going all the way through.
Yeah, like you could almost count that every Sunday and every Wednesday you had I think, Braz, you coined it as the Goon Squad, right?
Yep.
It was Sunday and Wednesday. That was the lineup that was going out. Altuve was out. Pena might be. Pena only missed games that he was injured in. Like he really didn't. He was probably the only one that played every day. But you can almost guarantee that that Altuve was going to be out, and Dubon was in, and Trammell was in, and all that stuff. Now, you had to play Trammell because you had no other options. You tried to go with DeZenzo. He misses, 2/3 of the season, right? With a calf or something?
Probably more than that. Yeah, probably more than that.
And so, and we talked about DeZenzo coming into spring about how good of a winter he had, right? Playing winter ball and then coming into spring training and kind of continuing. And hey, man, this kid, like he's been playing some really good ball. Like he's gonna have to, he's gonna get some run out in the outfield. He couldn't stay healthy, and it's gonna be a broken record between all three of us. We're all gonna talk about the injuries because that was this season. Chris, you nailed it at the beginning, right? It was an up and down season. They were consistently inconsistent, however you want to coin it, right? I mean, it really, that's what it was. To your point, Bryles, you didn't know what guy was playing, what three guys were playing in the outfield on any given day. You didn't have, you didn't have a Tucker Myers Jordan like every single day or however, you know what I'm saying? Like we had piecemealed it together. So to get off the negative Nancy with the injuries and the no names, right? The replacements, you still missed the playoffs by a freaking game. With all that, with all the injuries, with all the pitching staff stuff, with Brandon Walter coming out of nowhere to then having an elbow, and it's not funny. It's not funny at all. But you have Brandon Walter come out of nowhere and be your number 3 pitcher. Then he goes down with the elbow, right? Eric Getty gets hit with a line drive and the freaking outfield during batting practice. He wasn't pitching very good he really wasn't like on, but he definitely, the months that he missed. And then when he came back, he still, wasn't, on point after that. And then he's down for the rest of the seasons, right? So one game, you needed one game, win one more game against Oakland. Like, doesn't matter.
Well, it's not even that.
Sweep Colorado the 2 times you played them.
Yeah. Right. Or win one of those extra inning games by bunting the runner over to third. I mean, It's just
right.
I mean, and like I said, I don't want this to be negative Nancy. I mean, but like you still have to play the guys that you have, right? And I feel like, and I understand Altuve is getting older. He's not 26-year-old Altuve. He's 35-year-old Altuve. But you needed that lineup. Like Espada managed that lineup the last probably month of the season as if they had a 9-game lead. That's kind of like the way I saw it. And it was like, listen, this is going to come down to the wire, just because Seattle's getting hot at the time that you're kind of like going off and on. I mean, but like, here's the real thing. Here's probably the craziest thing if you really think about it. Who had on their bingo card that the Astro season was going to peak on July 4th, and then it was just going to be up and down, down? Because I mean, here's the realness of them peaking in July. Since that July series where they swept the Dodgers, which everybody was like, "Oh hell yeah, we're back!" You know,
It's a
MVP of the
wrap.
season
Yeah.
is the Space Cowboys. You know, blah 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 blah. I mean, like, we were on cloud nine. They were a sub 500 team for the rest of the season, and I want to say it was like, I think they finished. I think even with them, winning the series against the Angels, I think they were still 5 to 6 games under 500 for that entire air quotes second half of the season. And I'm sure that with enough time and enough, like I said, with enough time that I don't have extra, I could probably sit there and probably give you about 8 examples going back through the season of games that they should have won that they let slip through their fingers. And again, we can do that all day long. The positive is, I'm gonna turn this around. The positives are, you had about 400 players in your system on your team hurt, right? And you still were a game out of making the playoffs. Now, I get it.
Absolutely.
One game, either you make it or you don't, and we didn't. So, but I will say, this season could have been over in July. I feel like, with all the injuries, this season could have been over in June with all the injuries. So, I mean, you might have been looking at a completely different trade deadline, going into, the trade deadline if we're 12, 13 games under 500 because of all the guys that were hurt, but we weren't. So, and I know we kind of talked about it, which is kind of crazy. We talked about, man, I don't know if it was us, but I know I talked to somebody on Facebook where they were like, man, I kind of like wish I would have went with the statement I made. I forgot who said it, where I kind of wish the Astros were struggling and 10 games under 500, so we could have traded Fromber, got a haul the prospects back, because Fromber, and this is another one, he was probably the last guy you had on your bingo card of, this is going to be the guy that contributes to the downfall of the season, because he was complete ass that entire last month and some change.
The whole
season.
second half.
1 for 7 since the All-Star break.
Yeah. And then I think he had a good start against Colorado, and then I think he had one other good start. I mean, but he ended up finishing
his last start of the season against the Angels.
2-7. Excuse me, 2-7.
So 2-7 with an ERA over 6, and it's just like, it blows your mind. Outside of Hunter Brown, your best pitchers were pitchers that weren't even sniffing a major league roster spot in spring training. That's the crazy thing. Going back to our predictions back in spring training, I said Colton Gordon's going to be. We're going to have to come up with a name for this pitcher. That pitcher that comes out of nowhere and is the anchor of the rotation when you need him to be. And then the Astros make the playoffs or whatever. Like I said, it was JP France in 2023. Last year was Renel Blanco, and this year you can kind of piggyback it with Brandon Walter / Costanza. Them two combined was probably at times better than Fromber, right?
Look, man, if you didn't have those two guys for a period of time, it's a lot more than missing the playoffs by a game.
Yeah,
for real,
absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
And the one thing too, I'll say the one thing too that you got to think about is how many times did we come up here on Sunday or Thursday? We're looking at the next series, trying to do predictions, and then pop. Yeah, that's all it said. Just said TBD. It's how many times did I say it's our favorite pitcher? TBD. That's how bad it was. Yeah. And to also add on to your point, you can throw a blue ball in there too. I mean, his first outing was really rough, and then he got sent back down. And then the minute that he came back up, he was nails after that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, to give these guys a lot of credit, and nobody would have guessed Sean Alexander. Why do I keep saying that?
That's
Jason
NFL,
Alexander. Man. I know. Jason Alexander definitely did not run for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So anyway, to bring up the point of Alexander, though, he wasn't even on our roster until June. July.
Yeah, I think it was like
I
June.
mean, yeah, he started out, correct me if I'm wrong here, in the A's system and then bounced around. I think he went to the Braves and then someplace else and
Dodgers
finally landed with us. So, I mean, he came out of nowhere. And I guarantee you, I don't know what his contract looks like, but I guarantee you he's going to command some money at the
You're
end
gonna
of the
get some.
year just from the performance he had. So,
Yeah.
kudos to him. I hope we end up retaining him. But one of the things you did bring up, and I really wish that we would have traded Fromber, but nobody would have ever guessed
Yeah.
of what happened and how bad that fall off was going to be, because that was historic. I mean, when we're talking about a guy that could be an ace on a team, that has been an ace on our team for the last couple years, that has looked really, really good, that we expect big wins, big, strikeout numbers, and then a very low ERA out of, he just stopped. He stopped caring, and it was very evident. So, yeah,
Well, he
hindsight, I
pouted.
wish we could have traded him, but we didn't.
He pouted because he was getting rocked, right?
Yeah.
Now going back to July, I mean, you couldn't move him at that point. You just took care of the
absolutely.
Dodgers. He just mowed them down at LA before the break. Like, you can't move him. You can't.
Even before that run you ran on where you swept the Phillies, you beat the Cubs 2-1. It wasn't it the Cubs 2-1, then they swept the Phillies.
Yeah.
Then they went to LA and swept the Dodgers. Dude, like, I'm telling you, that's insane. That right there was the peak of the season. And then
you had
Zach Short
as your shortstop.
Yeah. And contributing. I mean, so
yeah.
It's probably one of the most strangest, like I said, roller coaster seasons I've seen in a long, long time. And I mean, it sucks. I mean, like, on a plus note, I don't have to stress out and almost have a stroke for every single playoff game. So it's nice to kind of sit back, because I am watching the other playoff games that are going on right now. But it's nice to not have to sit here and like pace and like, almost have to breathe into a paper bag on every commercial break. I mean,
hell, we did that during the regular season. I don't need it during the postseason.
Yeah, there's enough of that too.
Right.
But I would say the official JBH Astros Cy Young Award winner goes to Hunter Brown. I think we all can agree on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then I would say offensive MVP. I think we're all pretty much on board. I would assume we're all on board with Jeremy Pena.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. All right. So,
Rookie of the
year. Yeah. I'm gonna say the entire Sugarland Space Cowboys unit that came up during the entire season. There wasn't one. It was everyone that came up, with the exception of maybe Cooper Hummel. He was the only guy that didn't come up and contribute in some way. So
I'm going to say Cam Smith.
Dude, he had a massive fall off in the second half of the season. Like, if he would have stayed around 260, 270, it would have been hands down. But I was going to say Brandon Walter until he blew his elbow out. I mean, so Colton Gordon for a while was holding it down, and then he kind of, fell off. I mean, so I think as a collective for me, it has to be pretty much everybody with the exception of Cooper Hummel that it came up from Sugarland and held the fort until some of these guys get back. So not one person, but my rookie of the year goes to the Sugarland Space Cowboys.
I mean, that's a pretty fair damn assessment, because you're right though. You imagine, like, if you couldn't have these guys come up, or these guys didn't contribute in the way they did, and I can't imagine as a player to get called up, you're super pumped, and then you play a few games, you're back down, then you're back up. I mean, it's got to suck, right? I mean, because you're getting called up solely for a starting rotation, a spot start, right? You're pitching one game and you're going back down, and you have to come up with the same attitude and I'm gonna go get these guys, knowing that as soon as you're done in that 6th or 7th inning, when it's over, you're going back to Sugarland, right?
Yeah.
It's just wild, man. It's like there's a lot of negative we can talk about, and there's a lot of positive we can talk about. I mean, you got Correa back, right? You got
Yeah.
Correa back for 3 years, $76 million, right? You know, Paredes was probably going to hit 33, 34, I think, home runs. I think he was on pace for that before his hamstring injury. You know,
Fell off.
yeah, I was gonna say detach from his leg, but it really didn't happen. But I mean, it looked like
Right.
it. But you know, you have Correa. Now you have him for 2 more seasons, right? And then it brings the question of what are we doing with Walker? You know, do you put Paredes at first? I mean, you're going to leave Correa at third, like you are. You know, does Paredes play
You
first?
absolutely are.
Do you move Walker? You know, all kinds. I mean, you all got all kinds of stuff. What are you doing with Yiner? I've seen some run on X about moving on from Yiner. Honestly, Caratini is a free agent. I hope they bring his ass back.
Yeah.
Well, Dana said that was one of his targets that he was going to bring back. That was like the only person he named by name.
Well, he should,
Caratini.
because that dude was look. That dude can, you know, he can play first. Obviously, he can catch. He's more consistent. He's not as much power as Yiner, but to me, I like if Caratini came to the plate, I'm feeling pretty good about it. You know, he's not free swing.
Well, I think Caratini really excelled in that backup role. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I'm not saying start him, but
yeah, I mean, you like I feel like you can't move. I mean, and again, I mean, we have the entire offseason. I mean, hell, we still got 3 weeks of playoff baseball before we really start getting to. We slowly start tiptoeing into the the offseason stuff, but yeah, I like Caratini in that backup role. I don't know. I feel like there's so many things working against Yiner Diaz, and maybe he just had a down season. I don't know. But dude, it's like you better be damn good offensively if you're hot garbage behind the plate. You can't do both. So
I know that's right. You cannot be both.
Yeah. So as we're getting close to wrapping this thing up, man, like I told you we'd be able to talk about the season in 30 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna go with a question for each one of you guys. Let's say you put on your Jim Crane hat after this season. Are you happy with what Dana Brown did, and you're willing to? I know Dana Brown came on earlier in the week and said is expecting to stay on with the team. I would assume that he probably was told he's going to stay on. You wouldn't just go out there and be like, "Yeah, man, these guys are going to keep me," without knowing they're going to keep you. So, what grade do you give Dana Brown for the 2025 season? And we'll start you. Browse.
This is very hard. So at the beginning of the season, Dana Brown, obviously he pulled some guys in. At the beginning, I think we were all excited about the Walker signing. We all thought that was going to be good, and it was going to be, above and beyond anything that we've gotten out of first base in a while. So I think we also were very skeptical of the Tucker trade, but it did bring us back Paredes, which I think we all, after we kind of talked it out between him and Wisniewski, we're pretty excited about that. Especially the fact
I keep forgetting about him.
Yeah, and the fact that
we got hurt
only
early.
gave up a year. So, everybody got hurt, right? So anyway, at the beginning of the year, I think it was very skeptical. Could work out, couldn't work out. I think he was kind of putting those trades and those acquisitions out there to save his job, and then a lot of them worked out. So we were giving him praise at the beginning, and then we got to the trade deadline. I think he did a pretty damn good job at the trade deadline. Hindsight 2020, we didn't get Dylan Cease. We didn't give up the entire minor league system just to go get him. So, I think that was a good thing. But at the same time, you asked me what grade to give him. I think the grade to give him is incomplete, because we don't know if all these acquisitions and all the moves that he made would have worked out perfectly, if it was going to be a problem moving forward, or what was going to happen. So I think really the only moves that could have worked differently would have been something like we've already touched on, the Fromber trade, possibly the trade deadline to get a huge haul. But at that time, it did not make any sense to do that. Heck, we were looking to get starting pitching. And I know they were trying to get Dylan Cease at the trade deadline. That didn't happen, thank God, now that we're going back and looking at it. So he did get a couple of guys just off the trash heap, like Jason Alexander, that ended up working out perfectly for us. So, I'm going to give him an incomplete, but if it's not an incomplete, I'm going to give him a A-, I guess. That's the best way to put it. I don't think it was his fault. I think that there are other moves that need to be made within our organization that we need change with, but that's for another episode because I could go on for that forever.
So I'm glad you didn't puss out and stick with incomplete, because I was, but I agree. I agree with the A-. Like that was my thing, right? And you touched on a lot of points, so I'm probably going to be regurgitating it. But it started with the Kyle Tucker trade, right? You knew you were going to lose. You knew you were going to lose this guy at the end of this season. You've lost, all these other players and haven't gotten anything back from him. So not only do you move Tucker, but you get Wisniewski and you got Cam Smith and Paredes, and it's all team control, right? It's team control. So you're winning that. Isak is going to end up turning out to be obviously like a huge part of our team. He already was until he got hurt. Cam, put together a solid little rookie season, right? This is the most baseball he's played in 1 year ever, right? So, I mean, we still all think he's going to be good. Wisniewski, we still don't know with him, right? I mean, he looked okay until he didn't in Milwaukee, right? And then again, it was a team control, right? So for me, for that one, like you win the trade on that. You bring Correa in, and you make Minnesota eat a lot of the contract, right? So you've got him for 2 years, right? You needed a left-handed bat at the deadline, right? And you went and got Jesus Sanchez. Now, Jesus Sanchez didn't really pan out, I think, the way that Chris wanted him to, right? Me for sure, but Chris was a big proponent of Jesus Sanchez going into the deadline, right? So he went and got the left-handed bat. Now, the biggest thing for me was how fast he accelerated the younger players that were down in the system. If they were hot down in AAA, he was not afraid to bring them up and say, "Here you go." See, I'm blanking on his first name, Cole, the last kid.
Oh, Zach Cole.
Zach Cole.
Yeah. Like, see, right? That kid was in AA, was raking in AA, moved to AAA, played 12 games, maybe?
Yeah.
Right? Like
12,
not
15.
a lot. Then straight to the bigs. And look what that kid did at the end of the season. Right? I mean, first pitch, major league at bat, bomb to right center out at Atlanta. He goes 3 for 4 in his first game. Right? I mean, he's not afraid to move these guys up quickly. Right? If he thinks you can play, you're going to get moved up fairly quickly. Now, it's worked out so far. I think with the moves, Bryles, like you said, with the guys off the trash heap and Brandon Walter, Colton, and I'm not saying these guys are on the trash heap, but I'm saying, the Brandon Walters, the Colton Gordons, the Costanzas, right? Like those guys were not on my radar coming into the season. They only were because Moreno talked about at least Colton Gordon, right? Logan Van Wake got called up, and he did a few things, right? Wasn't as sustainable as I think we probably would have wanted. Blue Ball, you saw that. We all know what happened with him, right? Blue Ball, and Chris, you weren't on the episode, but Blue Ball has made every case to be considered for your number 5 for next year, I think, right?
Yeah,
Maybe even
so
4.
I'm good with that.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, there's a lot of hate for Dana Brown. Dana Brown made a lot of freaking moves, right? He put the pieces together that if half of the injuries that we have don't happen, you're talking about a team that's probably got a 5 or 6 game lead, right? In this division, maybe a number 2 seed. There's something interesting that I heard today from I think it was Michael Schwab. No, Chandler Rum. And they were talking about Centron and Snicker, right? And their philosophies. And what he brought up was that a lot of these a lot of our players from an offensive perspective have the same offensive profile, which is they're a bunch of free swingers, right? There's a bunch of free swingers. Now you can get rid of Centron, you can get rid of Snicker, bring in somebody new voice, right? But that's what these guys do. They swing. Or the guys, Yiner, the Pena got better, right? But Yiner's swinging at, all three pitches. And I'm saying all that because I say all that to say that it goes back to Dana Brown because he's put players in position that can hit on this team. And it really is that's his job, right? Put the pieces on the puzzle, let these guys come do their thing. They didn't do it, right? So I don't think you can give a lot of heat to Dana. I mean, I really don't. I think the A- is a fair grade because he made the moves that he needed to. They just didn't put it together like we assumed they would.
No, I agree. I think I don't know why Dana Brown gets the amount of hate that he does. My grade personally, it wasn't an A. I gave him a B plus, and really the main reason why I gave him a B plus, like I said, I like the trade into Kyle Tucker as much as it stung. It needed to happen. Monday morning quarterback, I'm sure all of us will go back in time, and regardless of what the record was, trade Fromber. I mean, but it is what it is. I understand why they didn't. The only thing, and I guess this is more of like nitpicking for Dana Brown, is the fact that you had some guys that were, when you were really hurting in the outfield, you were really hurting the rotation. You had some guys that were released from other teams, like a perfect example, Walker Buehler. I feel like that's a guy, regardless of what happened, he could have given you innings. Guys got major league experience, and we've seen what the Astros can do with these cast-off players. We've seen it all the time, all throughout the run. This last run, I felt like there was some position players that were released that you could have brought in to not have Cooper Hummel playing every single day, not have Taylor Trammell playing every day. So I do think that's more of me just nitpicking. I mean, as much as I would love to brought in Walker Buehler, maybe there are some reasons behind the scenes why that didn't happen. I mean, so I'm going to give him a B plus, but I'm 100% okay with the A minus.
Yeah.
So to wrap up this episode, I got one last question.
Oh my goodness.
So here's the question. Keep your Jim Crane hats on. Is Joe Espada your Astros manager for 2026?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep this very simple. No, unless he was, if he had full responsibility of the lineup and got to use it any way he wanted, my answer is no. He's gone.
I don't think he's gone. He'll be back.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, if it's my call, I think I'm more with Browse. I think you're coming off.
It was mismanagement.
I'm Jim
agree.
Crane. You weren't generally asking.
Yeah, you're Jim Crane. Yeah, you're Jim Crane. You're still Jim Crane.
Then no.
Yeah,
no.
I think after having such a strong presence of Dusty Baker, and again, this is I've had to eat crow on this all season. Like that transition from Dusty Baker to Joe Espada. Joe Espada in the last 2 seasons has, got bounced in the first round. He hasn't won a playoff game in the last 2 years, and I understand some people could take that as, oh, Chris, you're just bitching and whining. You're getting too spoiled. No, the way I see it is, man, our standard of baseball and the expectation of baseball in Houston is up here now. It's no longer, hey, maybe we can make the playoffs. No, it's if we're not playing for a ring, then what are we doing? So I feel like at some portions, the whole Fromber thing with Caesar salad, I just felt like at points I could assume that maybe he kind of lost the locker room at times. But I feel like if you go and get somebody that's a little bit more brash and not afraid, like Dusty Baker would go out there and get kicked out of a game just to get the boys riled up, get them fired up. I didn't see that same fire out of Espada. If I'm Jim Crane as well, I'm letting him go, even though he's under contract for another year.
Yep, I agree. Play the music.
All right, let's do this. Here we go.
Is this the new song or the old song? This is the new one?
All right, take it home, PK.
I couldn't hear you. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this one, man. We went a little bit long. On this episode, but it's okay. It was the first one to have Chris back, so I know he was super pumped to get back into the studio.
I've been waiting for this for like a week now.
But it's okay, man. Look, and the reason we got so much to talk about this offseason, there's gonna be so many things going on, and we are on day number 3 of the
playoffs.
the regular season ending, right?
Yeah.
So look, we got a lot of time. That's gonna wrap it up for this week, man. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I have something for everyone that's listening for the first time. Hit that button. Hit the like.
There you go. Look at you. Look at you, man.
I like that little.
You've grown up so much. So much. Yeah, I just want to say real quick, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us for season 2 of regular season Juicebox Heroes. We will be with you guys all throughout the off season, and I don't know. At some point, we haven't decided yet. We're going to do our big season 3 kickoff. I don't know. Maybe we'll do something cool. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. But I just want to say thanks.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. So now we got off season to talk about. Just so that we're on the record, I'm pulling for the Toronto Blue Jays in the playoffs. I really don't give a crap about the NL. I wanted the Reds to win. That did not happen. I don't want Philly. I don't want LA, Milwaukee, or Chicago. So I'm all in on Toronto. I hope you guys have a great weekend. UT plays Florida if anyone's interested tomorrow or on Saturday.
In the swamp.
But until then, I'm PK. That's Chris. That's Bryles. This is the Juicebox Heroes. Talk to y'all on Sunday.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Great season.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Good job,
we almost killed the entire song.
Almost.